Today's reading is taken from Luke, the Gospel of Luke, chapter 17, verses 5 to 10, which can be found on page 1051. And the title is Sin, Faith, Duty. The apostle said to the Lord, "Increase our faith." He replied, "If you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mulberry tree, 'Be uprooted and planted in the sea,' and it will obey you. Suppose one of you have a servant plowing or looking after the sheep. Will he say to the servant when he comes in from the field, 'Come along now and sit down to eat'? Won't he rather say, 'Prepare my supper, get yourself ready, and wait on me while I eat and drink. After that, you may eat and drink'? Will he thank the servant because he did what he was told to do? So you also, when you have done everything you were told to do, should say, 'We are unworthy servants. We have only done our duty.'" This is the word of the Lord. Thanks.
Thank you, Pauline. Can I have my first slide? Thank you. So we'll get to this at the end, but I'm Wendy. I'm one of the wardens here. We'll get to this at the end. This is a line from the first single that I ever bought. A theme from Shaft by the late, great soul legend Isaac Hayes. So please just remember that you've seen this. Okay, so next slide, please. It's a slightly strange little passage because the apostles say to Jesus, "Increase our faith," and then he follows with an answer and then a parable, and the parable doesn't actually seem to have anything to do with the first part, which is, what's going on? So they say to him, "Increase our faith." So, can I have the next slide, please? So faith is clearly really important to Jesus. In the parable of the talents, when the servant has taken his sum and increased it 10 times, Jesus has the master say, "Well done, thou good and faithful servant." And that's what we all want to hear. Well done, thou good and faithful servant. When the centurion sends his servant to ask Jesus to come and heal his daughter, Jesus says about the centurion, "I have not seen such faith even in Israel." Faith is really important to Jesus. Can I have the next slide, please? But when it comes to the apostles, well, this particular example comes from the time when he was in a boat and the storm came up and the winds blew and the apostles got scared and they woke him up. He says, "Why are you fearful, O ye of little faith?" And he calls them, "O ye of little faith," over and over again. And basically, the first part of this passage, when they say, "Increase our faith," and he says back to them, basically, there's not half a teaspoon of faith amongst the whole lot of you. It is a roast. It's not a rebuke. It's a complete and utter roast. He's rebuking them and saying, your faith is just not there. Because if you did have any faith, you could perform a miracle like that. Clearly you're not. Your faith is very poor. So, can I have the next slide? Thank you. So, when Jesus talks about faith, he used the Greek word pistis. And this was a bit of a surprise to me. Pistis, it means faith belief, trust, and confidence, it also means faithfulness. So when we have the word faith or faithfulness in the New Testament, it's the same thing. So we're talking about our faith in God and God's faithfulness towards us. We're not talking about two separate things in the context of the New Testament. We're talking about the same thing. So Jesus is talking about them having little faith. He's also saying they have little faithfulness. Can we go on to the next slide? So the big chapter in the New Testament about faith is Hebrews chapter 11, and it's on page 1209, if you've got a Bible next to you. And it starts out in this translation, now faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. This is the King James translation, and I like it because it says faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. It talks about substance and evidence. They are real things. So we can think about faith as being something super spiritual. You know, I have the gift of faith. Faith, it's something in my heart. It's something ethereal and wonderful. You may not touch it. It is between my Saviour and me. It is my faith, and we can be very, very precious about it. But this writer, the writer of the Hebrews, he's making it something solid. He's making something real. It's the reality, the substance of what's hoped for. What's hoped for we can't touch. The substance of it, the faith of it, we can touch it. What we don't see, we don't see. But evidence is what makes what we don't see visible. And it goes on, the chapter goes on with a whole load of stories about which start with, now by faith, such and such a person did something. It's active. Faith is not something that they were just cherishing in their hearts and making them feel warm and cozy. It was the fuel that made them act. And what's more, they didn't just act, they kept on doing. They stayed there, they kept the faith. They were faithful. They kept on doing what it was that they were doing in the story. And when we come to the end of it, can I have the next chapter? We get to chapter 12, and the first couple of verses of chapter 12 say, let us run with endurance. Let us keep the faith. So again, this is really practical. Let's keep on going. Let's not just be, I've got the faith. It's let's keep on doing. Let us be faithful. Let us run with endurance. And it also says, let us fix our eyes on Jesus, because that's what's going to give us the fuel to keep going. Jesus, and all sorts of different translations of the author and perfecter of our faith, but Jesus, the beginner and the ender. They all have this meaning. Jesus who begins our faith, and Jesus who is the end of our faith. So this is the prize, this is the fuel, this is what is going to keep going, this is what is going to keep us faithful. So can we have the next slide? So the master has said to the servant, go out and work in the field all day. The servant's worked in the field all day. He's come home. The master has not said, well done, thou good and faithful servant. He said, now make my food. And Jesus, this is not, by the way, modern management practice. So this is a parable. Please don't take it as something it's not. So Jesus says, no, the servant only did what he was told. I'm not going to say, well done, thou good and faithful servant, to someone who's only done what they're told. And so the apostles, they're not going to get a magic, well done, good and faithful servants for just doing what they're told. People, take a charge of your own learning. I'm not going to give you a booster pack with a magical faith upgrade. It's you who've got to work on it. You who work on faith by being faithful. And there are some really faithful people here. You know who you are. You're the people who turn up. You are the people who are there. You're the people who do the jobs. You're the people who don't ever flake. And coming back to my first single ever, you're the ones who don't cop out. So, you don't generally get badges for it. You don't generally get people saying, hooray, hooray, look what a wonderful thing they've done. But God sees. You are building yourselves up in faith through being faithful. And one day, just possibly, you might get put in a song. Thank you.